The sickly sweet smell of roasted almonds drifted through downtown Denver, mingling with bus exhaust and the metallic tang that always warned Milo Devlin his oxygen tank was running low. 29, thin as a tent pole and cursed with a climber's heart lodged inside a body that hated heights, Milo kept one hand on the tank's valve wheel while scanning the Federal Center clock tower. The copper needle of his altimeter watch trembled. 5,279 feet 11 inches. One more step and he'd cross the unseeable line. Here, at the edge of the mile-high threshold, the ordinary world ended and the hidden domain began. For most people, that fact was folklore, a bar joke told alongside stale stories about mountain goats running for mayor. But Milo knew better. He'd touched the frost-damp balustrade of the cloud castles once, for 8 dizzying seconds, before his panic snapped the vision like soap film. Since then, he'd lived with 2 certainties. The castles were real, and someone up there was stealing Denver's air. He felt it every morning when the sky tasted flatter, when joggers stopped mid-stride to hack into their sleeves, when elderly neighbors shook their heads above sputtering oxygen concentrators. Milo's cystic lungs registered the plunder long before any weather station. He'd tried explaining it to city council members, meteorologists, even a late-night AM host named Dr. June, who believed in crop circle accountants. No one listened. Their data sat obediently at sea level. Their imaginations never rose past 5,279 feet 11 inches, except for Sage Arroyo's. "Got your note," she said, emerging from the alley beside the almond stand, braid bouncing against her battered climbing helmet. "If this is another crackpot theory about pressure gradients, I've got a rigging class in 20 minutes. "It's not pressure," Milo pointed upward. "It's pirates." Sage raised both eyebrows, the left one sliced by an old scar she claimed was from an insulted peregrine falcon. "Sky pirates? They hook clouds, distill the breathable fraction, and sell it in metal flasks to coastal elites who think mountain air cures ennui." He shrugged. "I have spreadsheets." Half a laugh escaped her, but curiosity softened her gaze. She'd been the first to pluck Milo off a crag 3 years earlier, when vertigo struck halfway up the second Flatiron. Afterward, she taught him knotwork, hoping familiarity might dull his fear. It hadn't. Yet she kept answering his calls, drawn perhaps by the puzzle of a climber who couldn't climb. "Suppose I humor you," Sage said. "How do we reach these pirates?" Milo swallowed. A floating stare. He handed her the postcard he'd found wedged under his apartment door that dawn. A pen and ink drawing of a staircase unfurling from the clouds like a ribbon. On the back, swirling script read, "When oxygen falls to 70, climb or choke. One day, one coward, one chance." Below, a set of coordinates pinpointed a nondescript rooftop in Capitol Hill, elevation 5,279.8 feet. Milo's watch now read 5,279.9. "Coward?" Sage asked. "Me, apparently?" His stomach churned. "Whoever sent this knows my record." "And your weakness?" She folded the card, "Yet they're inviting you anyway." "Because they're betting on freeze." Sage's stare hardened into something granite bright. "Then we prove them wrong." She hailed a rideshare, instructing the driver to gun it for the coordinates. The man smelled of peppermint and pretended not to notice Milo twisting his tank's valve until the hiss subsided. 20 minutes later, they stood outside a defunct observatory, crowned with broken weather vanes. The only door bore no lock, just a rusting plaque engraved with the precise elevation, 5,279 feet 11 inches. Milo's soles tingled. "Moment we cross," he whispered, "everything changes." He pushed. The door drifted inward on silent hinges. Rather than mildew and neglect, clarity greeted them, air so crisp it cut. The abandoned interior had vanished, replaced by morning sky swirling like fresh-poured cream. Directly ahead, a staircase ribboned upward, each translucent step dangling in the void. From somewhere above came the groan of gears and the hoot of laughter carried on thinning wind. Sage dug chalk from her harness pouch. Not waiting for an invitation. She placed her boot on the first step. It held. Milo's toes froze an inch from the second. The moment his weight left known ground, the old dread unfurled, vision narrowing, heartbeat slamming snares against his ribs, the map of his childhood faults replaying behind his eyelids. The tank on his back felt heavier than the front range. Sage reached down. "Milo, you're breathing." Her voice threaded calm into the panic. "One step, then another. That's all stairs are," he nodded. "Air in, air out, in, out." His boot met the step. It was cool, solid, faintly vibrating like guitar wood. A soft chime sounded, and the staircase rose 1 foot, ferrying them higher without requiring further motion, as if satisfying the staircase's toll was enough. Commitment. "That's convenient," he muttered, clinging to the rail. Except there was no rail, only filaments of condensation weaving alongside them. Denver's skyline shrank below until the city became a mosaic of glittering shingles. At roughly 5,500 feet, the stair passed through a gauzy membrane. Beyond, castles blossomed. They floated upon cumulus foundations sculpted into parapets and turrets, whole avenues of alabaster vapor anchored by unseen forces. Banners sewn from rainbows snapped in the wind, and looping between the spires were ship-sleeked dirigibles, with figureheads carved to resemble wolves, dragons, and bottlenose dolphins. Their prows pierced cloud streets, while crew members in patched aviator leathers swung grappling hooks into puffball reservoirs. Portable condensers on deck glowed cobalt as they siphoned moisture. "Pirates," Sage breathed. "They're real." A cannon blast cracked the air. Vapor sprayed. One of the wolf-headed vessels heaved, dragging a veiny hunk of cloud behind it like a bag of loot. "The city's water cycle," Milo began. "Later," Sage said. "We need a plan." The stair halted level with a crenellated landing leading into the nearest castle. A brass plaque read, "Airborne Municipality of Solidity. Visitors kindly refrain from pillage." They stepped off. The stair withdrew, coiling upward to vanish among wisps. Milo's vertigo loosened its grip slightly. The cloud walkway felt improbably steady, as if shaped memory foam remembered Earth's solidity. An honor guard of 3 figures confronted them. Not pirates. These wore tailored tailcoats of condensed vapor, faces luminous as moonlight seen through silk. The tallest spoke without moving lips. The words arrived like thoughts during a sneeze. "We perceive groundlings, rare, unregistered. Purpose?" Sage nudged Milo forward. He cleared his throat. "We're here to stop theft of breathable air from Denver? Commodity not under groundling jurisdiction," the figure answered. "Upper troposphere resources belong to those with altitude initiative." Another cannon rumbled far above, turning pieces of sky black. Milo spotted a zeppelin emblazoned with a scarlet A, cleaving toward a new cloud bank. The luminous guard's shoulders dimmed. "Pirates trouble both our peoples," it admitted. "But the stair cannot intervene. It delivers climbers. Neutrality is its architecture." Milo bit his lip. "There must be laws, treaties, existing since 1881. Non-violence accords, breached by pirates, enforcement impossible while resources scarce." He recalled the postcard taunt. "One day, one coward, one chance." Whoever orchestrated this wanted him specifically to act where tropospheric bureaucracy failed. "Why?" Sage gestured toward the dragon-headed airship mooring at a distant tower. "What powers their machines?" "Condensed oxygen-nitrogen mix," said the guard. "Stolen. Combustion formidable. We reject weapons. They do not." Milo's lungs ached inside his chest. Each inhalation seemed to pull half a lungful. His tanked gauge hovered on red. "Show me your reservoirs," he said. The guard hesitated. "We can help you hide them." The being turned. Its colleagues parted. Down a vaulted corridor they strode, bare feet whispering on vapor marble. The castle's belly contained spherical chambers of swirling silver air. Thousands of tons, maybe, but still insufficient to supply both cloud dwellers and Denver. Forms shimmered inside the nearest chamber. Blueprints, formulas, and an ethereal contraption resembling a corkscrew anchored to an iris valve. "Leakage?" Milo asked. "We ration flow to ground," the guard said. "Balance vital. Pirates accelerating depletion. Soon Denver and Siriusburg will wheeze together." Milo studied the corkscrew. It was, to his climber's eye, an auger one designed to send saturated air downward through a central duct. And ducts, he knew, could be climbed. He spun to Sage. "I need to board a pirate ship." Her grin was all quartz edges. "Thought you'd never ask." "But," the word whistled between his teeth. "Vertigo, heights, I'll freeze." "You'll breathe," she tapped his chest. "Remember, half of climbing is refusing to obey imagination's lies." He wished he believed her. Yet the stolen air inside those hulls included his next breath. Somehow that fact gutted the paralysis. No climber abandons their life source at the summit. Siriusburg guards provided glide silks, capes turning wearers into slow-falling seeds. They also supplied rope woven from condensed dew weakless, stronger than steel. As they led Milo and Sage to an exterior balcony, the dragon ship Pyrocumulus rumbled overhead, engines beating like giant kettle drums. "Jump," Sage ordered. The balcony's rail was mist. Below, void. Milo's pulse hammered his eardrums. Then he saw children on the city's playgrounds gasping at recess, his grandmother rotating her nasal cannula with shaking hands, and he leapt. Wind swallowed his scream. The glide silk snapped open, catching a thermal that slung him upward toward the ship's underside. Sage sailed 10 yards to his left, hair whipping, laughter torn away by gale. The Pyrocumulus's belly hatch yawned, cables dangling where pirates winched cloud bundles aboard. Milo grabbed a cable, braced feet against metal plating, and began to climb. He'd practiced pull-ups on door frames, trained forearms with rice buckets, but nothing prepared him for muscles burning in thin air, or for the yawning kilometers below. One glance down and vertigo punched him between the eyes. Sky tilted, stomach lurched. He hugged the cable, shutting eyes until stars dimmed. A voice above barked, "Haul faster! Storm's brewing!" Pirate boots clanged overhead. Milo risked peeking. 3 figures in leather coats were levering a gangplank to secure fresh loot. The moment they turned, he swung through the hatch, landing atop a mound of crystallized cloud. His boots sank into icy vapor that hissed like effervescent soda. Sage rolled in beside him. They didn't see. Yet. They crouched behind a generator trimmed with brass pipes. The engine's roar vibrated Milo's ribs. Beside it stood cylinders stamped with barcodes, Alpine batch, 384. 97% pure, stolen Denver breath. Sage traced her finger along a pipe toward a bronze dial. "We sabotage the condensers, flooded them with unfiltered moisture, engines stall." "Ship drifts," Milo bit his lip. "Too slow. They'll switch to backups." A plan formed, reckless as cliff-dancing goats. "What if we make them jettison the cargo voluntarily?" "How?" "By threatening detonation." He hefted an oxygen cylinder. "Pressurized tanks become rockets if the valve snaps." Sage whistled. "We bluff an explosion, they dump the loot to save themselves. Denver gets its air back. But someone has to stand on deck holding a ticking bomb." Milo looked toward the hatch. Cold sweat rolled down his spine. The deck was open, rimmed by nothing, with wind so fierce it could rip a lie off your tongue. All his nightmares coalesced there. "One coward," he murmured. The postcard had called him that, perhaps because whoever sent it knew the only way to defeat fear was to parade it before those who invoked it. He straightened. "I'll go." They rigged a lanyard to the cylinder, tied by a dew rope to Milo's harness. Sage wrenched the valve quarter turn. A jet of oxygen hissed, white fog curling like a snake. Together they stalked the corridor, dodging crew until ladder rungs lifted Milo into blinding daylight. The deck boomed with engine noise. The captain, a woman whose tricorn hat sported goggles speckled with frost, commanded from the bow. Her coat was patched with velvet-embroidered map fragments. Behind her stood a pyramid of silver canisters, the stolen trove. Milo advanced, knees watery, cylinder cradled like nitroglycerin. Wind shoved him, toes scrabbled on damp planks. He forced himself upright. "Captain!" His voice cracked, but the hiss of escaping oxygen amplified it into a banshee wail. Heads swiveled, pistols glinted. "This tank's valve is half off," he shouted. "One more twist and your ship becomes fireworks. Dump the cargo or kiss the breathable world goodbye." For a heartbeat, silence. The captain's gaze flicked to the cylinder's pressure gauge. Her nostrils flared. "You're bluffing," she said. Milo's hand trembled toward the valve. Every muscle begged him not to. The deck tilted. Seasickness churned. He tasted bile. He thought of nights coughing into pillows until specks of blood bloomed. Then he twisted another millimeter. A jet of oxygen screamed. Frost flowers spidered across the brak. The closest pirate yelped, stumbling back. Panic rippled. The captain snarled, weighing profit against combustion at 18,000 feet. Sage burst from below, brandishing a flare gun. "Captain, your engines are cross-fed by those tanks. One spark." Truth coated with exaggeration, Milo knew, but fear loves costume, not accuracy. The captain's lips retracted. "Heave the cargo overboard!" she roared. Crew rushed to the pyramid, rolling canisters toward the rail. Each clang pumped adrenaline through Milo's veins. One stumbled, canister skidding feet from Milo. The deck lurched. He teetered at the edge of forever. Vertigo clawed, whispering, "Fall, fall, fall." He squeezed eyes shut and pictured Sage's scarred eyebrow, the handshake of Sirrisburg's guard, his grandmother's smile around plastic tubing. When he opened them, pirates had jettisoned the last cylinder. Silver torpedoes tumbled into the void, valves snapping mid-air to release glittering plumes. Vapor currents whisked the liberated oxygen downward, glinting like auroras. Somewhere across Colorado, children would breathe easier tonight. A fist cracked against the back of Milo's skull. He crumpled. The captain stood above, pistol out. "Cargo gone," she hissed. "So, we'll settle for hostages." Sage cocked her flare gun, but two pirates disarmed her, pinning her arms. The captain shoved Milo against a mast. "Tie them." The dew-rope on his harness brushed splintered wood. Milo's mind raced. The cylinder still hissed at his feet, unsecured. He met Sage's eyes, nodded once. Then he kicked the tank. It clanged toward the deck's edge, valve grinding the planks. A spark flashed, white flame roared. The cylinder shot off like a torpedo, ripping free the rope still clipped to Milo's harness. The sudden jerk yanked him overboard, falling again, but this time a leash of rope whipped Sage along too. Wind howled, but the glide silks deployed, snapping them from free fall into arching flight. Above, the pyrocumulus spun, one engine ablaze where oxygen backfired, black smoke staining the sky. They soared on a thermal's shoulder. Below, cylinders burst like firecrackers, scattering liberated air. Sirrisburg castles caught the plumes, reservoirs swelling. Gusts funneled the surplus downward. The smell of roasted almonds drifted upwards, stronger now. Sage hooped. Milo laughed a raw, exhausted bark. They landed on a cumulus balcony where the luminous guards awaited, clapping silent palms. "Crisis mitigated," the tall guard projected. "Pirates retreating to stratosphere. Denver airflow restored." Milo collapsed against the parapet, dizzy but alive. Vertigo buzzed, but without claws. He'd fallen, yet he floated, still. The guard offered 2 medallions forged from condensed lightning. "Tokens of bravery, entitle bearers to safe passage whenever Stair appears." Milo accepted. The metal hummed warm, despite being born of storm. "Thank you." Sage elbowed him. You saved a city, coward. He smiled. Former coward. Then his watch chimed, 5,279 feet 11 inches. The stair recoiled beside them. Time to descend. Before stepping onto the first stair, Milo paused to face the white ramparts, the drifting ships and the sunlit vapor fields that stretched like prairies of possibility. Fear grumbled, but no longer commanded. He placed his boot on the step. The staircase lowered, returning him to the world that would never suspect how close it came to smothering, or how its salvation rode on a climber with vertigo daring to breathe higher than terror's ceiling. When his soles at last kissed Denver pavement, the air filled his lungs. Not thin and metallic, but rich, rain-clean, threaded with mountain pine and roasted almond. He inhaled until ribs ached, then exhaled clouds of gratitude. Above, nothing unusual marred the sky, but a single ragged contrail dissolving into morning blue. Milo touched his medallion, its storm metal thrum echoing a promise. Heights awaited, and they no longer held dominion over him. Somewhere up there, cloud castles shimmered, visible only at exactly 5,280 feet, awaiting the next climber to trust one impossible stair.